Recap. Renegade Immortal, Chapter 81. The sword was ancient, so ancient that time itself seemed to cling to its edge like frost. A sinister aura seeped from its body, thick and suffocating, as though it carried the resentment of countless fallen souls. Anyone who looked upon it would find their gaze unwilling to turn away, drawn into its eerie presence as if caught in an unseen current. For a long while, Wang Lin remained immersed in that silent confrontation. Then, slowly, he awakened. A glimmer of understanding flashed across his eyes, like a spark igniting in the depths of night. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Tang Family City transformed into a sea of celebration. Blossoms adorned every street, their fragrance drifting through the air as thousands of cultivators filled the avenues, their robes fluttering like waves beneath a spring breeze. It was a grand and bustling scene, brimming with life. That morning, Wang Lin and Zhang Hu had already set out early, walking side by side through the lively streets. After a brief conversation, Zhang Hu departed, his purpose clear, as he needed to sell the ginseng he carried. Left alone, Wang Lin wandered at a measured pace, his eyes sweeping across the countless stalls that lined the streets. Rare treasures, spirit tools, and peculiar artifacts were displayed everywhere. Some items stirred his interest, but each time he inquired, the price was far beyond what he could afford. With a quiet sigh, he moved on. Then, he stopped. Before him stood a stall unlike the others. Flying swords gleamed with faint light, jade pieces shimmered with spiritual energy, and among them lay a thread-bound book, unassuming yet quietly drawing his attention. On its cover were a few small words: Basic Formation Research. Formation. Wang Lin murmured softly, rubbing his chin as curiosity stirred within him. He reached out and picked up the book. Though modest in appearance, it was surprisingly thick, containing some 50 or 60 pages. As he flipped through it, his focus deepened. The stall owner, a man in his 30s, lifted his head lazily and spoke in a slow, indifferent tone. 10 mid-quality spirit stones. If you're not buying, don't touch it carelessly. 10 mid-quality spirit stones. That was everything Wang Lin possessed. He hesitated for a moment, then continued flipping through the pages, absorbing what little he could. But as time passed, the stall owner's impatience became evident. Without further delay, Wang Lin placed down the 10 stones, took the book, and left. He continued browsing, passing through several more stalls. He found materials aligned with the wood element, useful for cultivation. But every single one came with a price that was simply too steep. Even a piece of ironwood appeared before him, but its value was so high it was almost unimaginable. Unknowingly, an entire day slipped by. By the time Wang Lin realized it, dusk had already fallen. He returned to the inn. But just as he was about to step inside, his foot halted midair, his brows furrowed. Something was wrong. At this hour, the inn should have been bustling with noise. Voices, laughter, footsteps. But now, it was silent. Deathly silent. Wang Lin's divine sense spread outward like an invisible tide, probing the surroundings. Yet the moment it touched the inn, his expression changed drastically. A mysterious force enveloped the building, sealing it off completely. His divine sense could not enter. Not even a trace. Without hesitation, Wang Lin retreated. His body moved instantly, spiritual energy surging as the attraction technique enveloped him. In a flash, he shot backward dozens of meters, his figure cutting through the air like a blade. "What's this? Your reaction is quite fast." A voice echoed out, tinged with faint surprise. From within the inn, a young man stepped forward. He appeared to be around 25 or 26 years old, dressed in a white robe adorned with black vine patterns along the cuffs. His gaze was sharp, cold, and filled with disdain. He looked at Wang Lin, who was already retreating rapidly, and sneered. "Tengjia, Tengye, remain here. Wait for that boy, Zhang Hu, destroy his cultivation, then throw him into prison. As for this nimble little rat, I'll deal with him myself." The moment his words fell, 2 shadows emerged like ghosts, appearing silently beside him. They were 2 elderly men, their faces lined with deep wrinkles. One of them spoke hesitantly, his voice cautious. "My lord, these 2 are within Tang Family City. Acting against them here, it goes against the rules. If the clan head inquires..." The white-robed man frowned slightly, his gaze never leaving Wang Lin. "If my grandfather asks, tell him the truth. Zhang Hu colluded with an outsider to kill his own teacher. How could I allow such scum to walk free? With a flick of his sleeve, his body rose into the air. Like a streak of light, he pursued Wang Lin without delay. The two elders exchanged glances, then vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Wang Lin pushed his speed to the absolute limit. Spiritual energy surged wildly through his body as he fled with everything he had. His mind raced, yet clarity remained. He could not afford even the slightest hesitation. Ahead, the towering walls of the city came into view. But just as hope flickered, several figures appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Feng family city prohibits flight. Fellow cultivator, stop immediately. Their voices rang out sharply. Wang Lin didn't speak. Instead, he acted. With a swift motion, he pulled out a gourd. Without caring about exposing its secret, he took a large gulp. Spirit liquid flowed into his body, instantly replenishing his energy. His speed exploded. Like a bolt of lightning, he surged forward. The expressions of the Teng family disciples changed drastically. Before they could react, Wang Lin crashed through. Using the attraction technique, he flung them aside as if they were leaves in a storm. Unstoppable, he broke through their blockade in an instant. Behind him, chaos erupted. More than 100 Teng family disciples mounted their respective treasures and gave chase, their figures streaking across the sky. Wang Lin's heart felt bitter. He still didn't understand what had happened. Why were they waiting at the inn? What had triggered this sudden pursuit? If he had been even a moment slower, he would have already been captured. As for Zhang Hu, Wang Lin could only hope for the best. He couldn't afford to think about others when his own life hung by a thread. He fled southward, leaving Teng family city behind. Yet the pursuit did not relent. Then, from the direction of the city, a streak of rainbow light shot forth. It surpassed all others, slicing through the sky with terrifying speed. In an instant, it reached Wang Lin. A massive flying sword materialized, vast and unreal, as though forged from the heavens themselves. It descended with overwhelming force. At the same time, lightning gathered, countless orbs forming in the sky, crashing down alongside the sword. Wang Lin's scalp tingled with dread. This is a nascent-level treasure. Situnan's voice roared within his mind. Retract your divine sense immediately. I'll teleport you. A blue crystal spread rapidly from the fragment in Wang Lin's hand, covering his entire body in an instant. And just as it did, the giant sword fell. The earth shattered. Thunder roared, lightning exploded across the ground, waves of destruction rippling outward. But Wang Lin had vanished. 300 meters away, his figure reappeared. Without pausing, he shot forward once more. Sichunan's voice echoed again, weaker now, laced with frustration. That little bastard has already reached the foundation establishment stage at such a young age. If you were at that level, I could borrow your body and unleash greater techniques. But with your current chi condensation cultivation, even with my help, we can only handle someone at mid-stage foundation establishment at best. Behind him, Teng Li frowned slightly. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You are the first person below core formation to escape my attack, he said calmly. If not for Brother Jimo's request, I truly wouldn't wish to kill you. Wang Lin did not respond. He didn't even turn his head. His spiritual energy was rapidly depleting. Without hesitation, he took out the gourd once more and drank deeply. Energy surged. His speed increased again. Teng Li's eyes turned cold. I want to see how many times you can teleport. He raised his hand and pointed forward. The heavens darkened. Once again, the colossal sword descended. As the heavens churned with fury, countless spheres of lightning roared in unison, crackling like divine wrath unleashed. Beneath that storm of destruction, a colossal sword cleaved downward, its momentum tearing through the air with unstoppable force. Sichunan didn't wait for even a breath of approval. With a string of curses spat through clenched teeth, he activated his power without hesitation. Space twisted, and in the blink of an eye, he and Wang Lin vanished once more. Teng Li's expression darkened. His brows furrowed as a cold snort escaped his lips. With a flick of his right hand, the flying sword obeyed his will, darting forward like a hunting hawk, locking onto Wang Lin's fleeing figure. Across the vast sky, two streaks of radiant light chased one another, one fleeing, one pursuing, cutting through the clouds like clashing destinies. The Teng family disciples followed for a time, but their strength proved insufficient. One by one, they slowed, until finally they gave up, unable to keep pace with the relentless chase. Yet Teng Li pressed on, and as he did, a strange unease crept into his heart. Each time he closed the distance, each time he nearly caught his prey, Wang Lin would vanish again, slipping through space as if reality itself bent to his will. Teng Li was no ordinary cultivator. At the late stage of Foundation establishment, his senses were sharp, his experience vast. But what he witnessed defied reason. Teleportation? That was a technique belonging to nascent soul cultivators. And yet this boy, this mere ant who hadn't even stepped into Foundation establishment, was wielding it repeatedly. A thought took root in Teng Li's mind. Treasure. This brat must possess a treasure capable of distorting space. The moment that realization struck, Teng Li's lips curled into a greedy smile. His tongue brushed across his lips as killing intent surged within him like a rising tide. That treasure would be his. His mind briefly drifted to the events that had led him here. He was close friends with Chen Zhong, the eldest disciple of Old Man Jimo. Just days ago, Chen Zhong had sent him a jade slip, a voice transmission filled with urgency, asking him to kill 2 individuals. One of them was Jiang Hu, the disciple of Old Man Jimo's 5th disciple, a traitor. With outside help, Jiang Hu had murdered his own master. But what Jiang Hu hadn't known was that his master had never truly been alone. Old Man Jimo had implanted a hidden technique within each of his disciples, a silent observer, a watchful eye. When the 5th disciple fell, that technique activated, and Old Man Jimo saw everything. In his rage, he deduced Jiang Hu's location and dispatched Chen Zhong to hunt him down. But Chen Zhong was far away, so the task had passed to Teng Li. Through investigation, Teng Li discovered that Jiang Hu was hiding within Teng family city, and that the one accompanying him must be his accomplice. That accomplice was Wang Lin. Originally, Teng Li had intended to fulfill this request as a simple favor. But now, things had changed. The moment he saw Wang Lin's teleportation, and now this mysterious sword, this was no longer a favor. This was a hunt, and the prey carried treasures that could shake the heavens. With that thought, Teng Li's speed surged, his pursuit becoming even more relentless. Ahead of him, Wang Lin's breathing grew heavy. Without hesitation, he raised a gourd and swallowed a large gulp of spirit liquid. The energy within him surged violently, fueling his escape. Then, he opened his mouth. A streak of green light shot forth, slicing through the air. The instant it appeared, the scent of blood spread like a silent omen. The green light flashed once, and then shot backward, while Wang Lin continued forward without pause. Teng Li saw everything clearly. His lips curled in disdain. Such tricks, he pointed lazily. A lightning sphere formed instantly, crackling with destructive energy, and shot toward the incoming green light. The two collided. Boom! The explosion rang out like thunder. Teng Li didn't even spare it another glance. His gaze shifted forward once more. But in that very instant, a flash. A streak of green light appeared less than 10 meters before him. Too fast. Too sudden. Before he could fully react, it pierced toward his body. His clothes shattered instantly, torn apart by the force, revealing the armor beneath, shimmering with a faint protective glow. The green light struck. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to freeze. Then, it was repelled. The armor held, the green light flickered and vanished without a trace. Far ahead, Wang Lin's expression darkened. A silent sigh escaped his heart. Regret lingered. That strike had failed. The green sword returned to his hand, its surface dull, marked by scratches from repeated use. Without slowing, he continued his desperate flight. Behind him, Teng Li's back was drenched in cold sweat. That moment had been too close. Even with his cultivation, had that strike landed cleanly, the consequences would have been severe, perhaps fatal. And that sword, it was no ordinary treasure. If it had pierced him without obstruction, he would not be standing here. His hand instinctively touched the armor gifted to him by his grandfather. A bitter smile crossed his face. Luck. He had survived by luck, but that only made his desire burn even hotter. His eyes gleamed with a chilling light as he muttered under his breath. Teleportation. And that sword, brat, everything you have will belong to me. 3 days later, a barren desert stretched endlessly under a merciless sky. Wang Lin drank another mouthful of spirit liquid, his voice hoarse as he muttered, "It's almost gone. I need to replenish it soon." Sichunan's voice echoed weakly, laced with exhaustion. "Kid, I can't keep this up much longer. These past 3 days, too many teleports, my essence is nearly depleted. Wang Lin turned his head sharply. His eyes burned with cold, killing intent. He's caught up again. With a swift motion, he reached into his bag of holding. The green sword appeared once more. Its once vibrant glow had dulled, and faint damage marred its surface. Over these 3 days, Wang Lin had used it repeatedly, but Teng Li had grown cautious. There were no more opportunities for surprise. And worse, the sword could not even pierce a single inch through Teng Li's armor. After sending the sword forward again, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense. To the west, a forest covered in thick, swirling fog. After a brief moment of thought, he changed direction without hesitation, flying toward it. In a flash, he descended into the forest. He knew the truth. His spirit liquid was running out. Sichunan could no longer support teleportation. If he remained in the air, he would be caught. There was no escape. Better to abandon flight and take his chances within the forest. The moment he stepped inside, he felt it. The fog. It wasn't ordinary. When he extended his divine sense, it became distorted, muddy, unclear. He could only perceive a dozen meters around him. Moments later, a streak of light arrived at the forest's edge, Teng Li. He hovered above the entrance, circling slowly. These 3 days had drained him as well. Without recovery pills, he would have already abandoned the chase. But the treasures, they called to him, tempted him, consumed him. He wanted nothing more than to kill Wang Lin immediately and claim everything. And yet, he hesitated. This forest, even his grandfather had warned him about it, a place shrouded in eternal fog, a place to be avoided. His gaze hardened. Do I continue or turn back? Silence. Then, his decision was made. The treasures outweighed the risk. He stepped forward. Within the forest, ancient trees stretched skyward, their canopies blotting out the heavens. The ground was buried beneath layers of decaying leaves, thick and suffocating. Poisonous insects crawled endlessly. Snakes slithered through the undergrowth. Strange beasts lurked in the shadows. The air was thick with the stench of rot and death. This was no ordinary forest. This was a domain where even nascent soul cultivators could fall. Wang Lin moved swiftly, weaving through the dense terrain. Then, Sichu Nan's voice rang out sharply. Stop! Stop right now! Wang Lin halted instantly. Sichu Nan inhaled deeply, his tone grave. What kind of place is this? Even blue line vines exist here. These things are calamities. Once, an entire rank 2 country was wiped out by them. Blue line vine? Wang Lin's heart trembled. Situ Nan spoke slowly, his voice heavy. Look ahead, that vine with the faint blue line. Wait, this isn't quite the same, strange. Wang Lin, this should be a juvenile blue line vine. Avoid it. Mature ones are nightmares for anyone below core formation. They feed on blood, and each time they devour, they evolve. If they reach intermediate stage, even spirit-forming cultivators cannot withstand them, and remember, these things are extremely sensitive to spiritual energy. Do not attack them with techniques. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened. In the distance, a vine swayed gently. It looked utterly ordinary, save for the thin blue line running along its surface. He remained silent. Then, he stepped forward. Carefully, without releasing even a trace of spiritual energy, he grasped the vine and slowly pulled. 1 meter? 2, 3. Then he let go, retreating swiftly. He raised his hand, slicing his finger. A single drop of blood flicked forward, landing on the vine. Instantly, the vine erupted into motion. It twisted violently, as if awakened from slumber. From its root, more vines burst forth, each bearing that same blue line, writhing, gathering, converging like hungry serpents. Then, they stilled. Silence returned. Cold sweat formed on Wang Lin's brow. A faint smile crossed his lips. Without hesitation, he turned and left. Moments later, Teng Li arrived. He had been using techniques without pause, closing in relentlessly. The vines beneath his feet, he didn't even glance at them. His divine sense, though restricted, told him one thing. Wang Lin was close. A cold sneer spread across his face. His speed increased, and just as he passed those seemingly ordinary vines, something changed.